All right, thanks guys. I'm Stephanie. 15 minutes is not that long to tell you a 7-year story. I was just telling some of the other speakers, so bear with me. I'm going to flip through a few of the slides at the beginning very quickly because I don't want to waste my precious minutes with you talking about myself or the company. Yeah, I'm Stephanie. I'm from the US originally, and I've been living in Austria for nearly 4 years. I joined Runtastic when we were about 20 people, and now we're creeping up towards 200, so it's been an incredible ride. What I want to do for you tonight, as mentioned, the topics tonight in focus are engagement, retention, things that are really of the moment in our industry, also for us in the company. But some of my co-speakers this evening are going to get you even more in-depth in the topic of retention and what this means, what it looks like. What I want to do is set the stage a little bit by telling you our story and telling you not only how can you best, let's say maximize your retention, maximize engagement, but what do you need to do, in my opinion, based on my truth and my reality with Runtastic, to even get to the point where you get the privilege, I would say, of worrying about these kind of topics. Because really there's a lot of steps in terms of setting up your business, setting up your team, all of those things. You need to get the people in the door and then think about what you're going to do with them. So, as mentioned, what the heck is Runtastic all about? We're a relatively small company. We're based in Linz, Austria. We're the leading mobile health and fitness company in the world. And our plan is to drop the word mobile in the next few years. We have a new strategic partner, Adidas. We want to be the leading health and fitness company in the world, period. Mobile and everything else. So keep an eye out for us. Our goals, this is also something that's super important to us. Our vision is that by 2020, we want every individual in the whole world to live more actively and more awarely with Runtastic, best case scenario, to lead a longer and happier life. For us, it's really, really critical that we're not just selling product, that we're not just providing a good service, but that we're really making a difference in the world. And we know that through health and fitness, we can address a lot of issues that we have going on in a lot of countries around the world right now. A few quick numbers. I've already mentioned a few of them. Something that I think is really standout and unique about our company, and something to consider if you're building up your own company, is that, as mentioned, we're around 160 people at the moment in a small random city in Austria, but we have people from over 30 countries already, and our products are available in up to 18 languages. So always think big. Don't limit yourself. Even if you don't have amazing resources, ask your users, ask your power users to volunteer to localize for you. Our founders were really visionary, I would say, in that aspect, that they didn't let boundaries or a lack of resources, because we had no funding in the beginning, they didn't let that stop them. They didn't let that get in the way. They just got really, really creative, and I think that's still a part of our culture today. And this is where I'm going to set the groundwork for 9 quick topics that I'll take you through in the next 12 minutes. When we started the company in 2009, we were very, very product focused. That's totally legit and important. It was primarily technicians, but it's not enough anymore. We all know this. The marketplace is incredibly competitive, and it's full, and people are fighting for the attention of a limited amount of people, and that's why in the past few years we've shifted to a more holistic approach. We've shifted from just getting people in the door to keeping people happy. This means engaging them. This means retention from the company standpoint. We went from having no time for data, and at Runtastic we are collecting immense amounts of data, to saying, oh my gosh, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to make the time to use our data for our own benefit, ergo for the benefit of our users. So we need to work smarter, not just harder. We're on a path to getting there, but to be honest, we're still just on the path. It's more challenging than you would think sometimes to make use of your data. And so yeah, without further ado, I'll get into my 9 topics, my 9 learnings or anecdotes, so to say, from Runtastic, to tell you what is our new recipe for success. What do we believe is super, super critical when it comes to having a successful, healthy business and ultimately boosting engagement and retaining your users. First things first, know who you are and know what you stand for. Sorry, these are a little bit text heavy. I had cool animations planned, but we can't use the animations. What I mean here, without reading this to you, because I hated that in school when the teacher read to me and I thought I'm old enough I can read. What I mean here is, don't try and be everything for everyone. Really identify what you're passionate about, identify what you want to do that's different than the competitors that are already out there, and then do that as best as you possibly can. Also, when you're identifying or setting up your business, pick out some core values and then hold to them. Also keep those core values in mind when you're hiring your first employees or your 50th employee or your 100th employee, because we found at Runtastic that culture trumps talent, trumps experience every time. You need to build a kick-ass team. And then the last point here is super critical for continued success. Focus, focus, focus. Try to block out the noise. Try to block out certain opportunities sometimes, because the more successful you get, the more people are going to want to work with you, and you're going to have to learn how to say no. Because if you don't say no often enough and fast enough, you're going to spread yourself super thin. You're going to kind of lose who you are, and the moment you lose who you are, how on earth should the marketplace know who you are? Next thing, be experts, be authentic, be transparent. This goes along with the first point. What we've learned at Runtastic is that even though our digital world is really borderless, we've had the most success in bringing everyone in-house. We want to be experts in our product, the topics that we're talking to our consumers about, and that means that if we don't already have someone in-house who's an expert on a given topic, we're going to find that expert, and no matter what country they're from, no matter what their background is, we're going to bring them, because we want them to be a part of our amazing team. We want them to be super committed. We want them to be in contact with other team members day by day. I'm going to back up a little bit so I'm not in your guys' way. And just invest in amazing people in your team, and also invest in great relationships with other people in the marketplace. Invest with time in relationships with great partners, also with people like Apple, Google, whatever. I can say, I think really what Runtastic did differently right from the beginning is we engaged in mutually beneficial relationships. It wasn't always, what can we get from them? What can we, oh my gosh, whatever. But it was really exchanging best practices, becoming friends first, and then figuring out, okay, what can we do together now later? Practice what you preach. I have a little video. I have to check and see if I can play it. Awesome. This is just a little bit of variety to entertain you guys. You'll see what I mean in a minute. That was me. I want to move on because we don't have too much time. But what I wanted to draw your attention to here is that we just launched a new app in November. I'm not bringing it up because you need to download it, but if you want to, you can. But my point is, if and when you and your company are in a point where you can actually launch a 2.0 version of your product, do it. It's okay now and again to use our users as guinea pigs. And in our fast-paced industry, sometimes in the beginning stages of your company, you won't have any other choice. Just throw something out there, get their feedback, and then iterate. And being fast is, of course, important. But what we said is we're going to launch this product actually 9 months later, because we're going to have 300 people go through the 12-week training plan, test it, get their feedback, and then make adjustments to the UI, UX design. We're going to make adjustments to the user flow. We're going to make adjustments to technical, things in the background, because we want our users to have the best experience possible. Now I'm going to get a little bit more into the topic at hand tonight. And I think everybody can agree with me here, but I don't think we always live this truth. A sale is not enough, it's just the beginning. This is something that Runtastic, we didn't really live in the beginning, not because we wanted to take advantage of people, but we didn't really know better, and we didn't really have a big enough team to really stick with people. We got them in the door, we got them to download our apps, and then we kind of left them hanging. The good thing is that the app was super high quality, relatively intuitive, so a lot of people got into it and used it. But in terms of really, say, meaningful and thought through user journeys or targeted communication or whatever, we were definitely lacking that. That meant that sometimes the people were, again, just left to their own devices to do what they could do. And on the other hand, I think we were sometimes spamming people, bombarding them essentially with just throwing mud at the wall, telling them everything about everything, and hoping that something was connecting with them. All of these things, I'm assuming you've read a few of them. The thing is that we just need to be doing better nowadays. And the last point is the most important. I'll come back to it again. Don't forget that your users have a lot of choices. And in the mobile industry, people are not committed to you in the same way that they might be when they make a really big, it's not like they buy a car. And even if they're not happy with the car, they're probably not going to make that purchasing decision for a few years down the road. If they don't love your mobile product, whatever it is, they can try a different one out the next day. And even if they've, done a 1 month, say, subscription with you or whatever, 1 month later, they can leave your door, and go walk in somebody else's. So keep that in mind. They have a lot of choices, which is also a good thing. Gather feedback, note trends, make changes. The idea here is really common sense, but again, we don't always practice what we preach, and just, always keep your eye in the marketplace. Always be responding to your users' feedback. And something that we just started doing the last few months was usability tests. We set up some fancy cameras that I don't even understand, and we have lay people come into our offices and stumble their way sometimes through our apps while we're videotaping them, seeing their facial expressions, seeing what they're saying when they get stuck somewhere, and we're using that feedback with people, frankly, like my mom or like your neighbor down the street, whatever, to try and make our app that much better for everybody. And this, never do this. If the only reason that you're still doing something is because we've always done it this way, then knock it off. And if anybody on your team is saying, I don't want to shift and I don't want to change and I don't want to whatever, forget about it. This will ruin a company. This will ruin a team in our industry. We have to be agile. We have to be forward thinking. Never stop testing. We always say test the shit out of your products. Analyze data wisely, and then use these 2 elements to communicate well. Here I just want to quickly rush through these lists because I only have 2 minutes left. Test, and then test some more. A/B test, do all sorts of tests. Test to create your, I'll say, default experience within your product, and also test so that you can do better targeting for your users. Know when to make adjustments when testing and know when to move along. I know in our early stages of A/B testing, we sometimes were really frustrated when we didn't have a significant result. And we would stick with this test forever and waste time because some things we were testing, the people just don't care that much about, or it's really like 50-50. So also give yourself deadlines and time frames and know when to say, this is clearly not that big a deal to people, and then move on to a new topic and a new variable and start testing that. And at the same time, remember, don't test too many variables at once. We've gotten ourselves into trouble sometimes where we had this really great data that we could do really great changes with, and then recognize that this team had been testing this at the same time that this team was testing this, and it meant that all of the data that we thought was so valuable was essentially void because we couldn't really say were these behaviors or these decisions within our products based on this, or that. Get to know your users. This is, of course, the purpose of the testing. Know key identifiers within your system. This is also a technical topic of making sure that you have a lot of flags and things going on in the background to make sure that you're getting them the information that they want, when they want, or best case scenario, 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 days before they actually know that they need it. And I'll hop down to the last point. Less is more, less is more, less is more. As mentioned, our goal at Runtastic is actually to communicate with or to touch our users as little as possible and making sure that when we do so, it's really meaningful and valuable to them as a person. Just wanted to point out a few examples from results. It's the first time that we created a really comprehensive user journey from download through the end of a 12-week training plan. Over 150 unique emails, in-app messages, push messages, the whole shebang in 14 unique languages. Was kind of a nightmare internally because, of course, anytime you do something the first time, you're like tripping over yourself, but amazing. And really, really cool to know that without the user actually knowing what's going on in the background, they're getting the best experience possible. A few examples of where we test in an ongoing way. Some things are super simple, and here too I would say from the product side, don't forget when you're developing the initial product, set yourself up for testing and things you maybe won't be doing in step 1, but you might want to do a year down the road because it's a lot easier to build these tools in up front than to suddenly want to start doing it a year or 2 years down the road, and then you have to really go back into the guts of the product and kind of rebuild things, and it's often then an excuse, at least for us, for why we don't end up doing it. examples of all sorts of different variations of screens and modules and things depending on if you're a man or a woman, your behavior within our ecosystem. Really quite cool. My last two topics, and then I'll wrap up. Shift to a relationship model, AKA the subscription. A lot of us know that mobile is shifting in this direction, and to be really honest, we at Runtastic are super excited about it. There's some risk that comes along with it from the company side of things, but we honestly think it makes a lot of sense, and it's really, really great for our users, and it can be really great for us as a company when we're doing things right. This goes back to the topic of a sale is not enough, it's just the beginning. We're excited that the industry is going in a direction of we don't need to use fancy like PR or marketing tactics to get people to make that purchase decision and then leave them hanging. We want people to engage in an ongoing relationship with us, just like a romantic relationship or a friendship, where it's not just a one-time decision, but really they're choosing us, whether it's month by month or every 6 months or every year, depending on how they set up their subscription. But we want people to continually choose us because it's empowering for them, and it also puts a pretty heavy, I'll say, burden and responsibility on us to continuously improve our products and deliver something new and exciting and engaging. But at the end of the day, it's ethical, and that's exactly what we should be doing. Wow, something was missing, but that's okay. The next topic was, and this is a huge shift, it's the biggest shift internally at Runtastic that we realized in the last 2 years, was complement product with killer content. This means in the product as well as across all sorts of different channels. Some of it is free, some of it is paid, but really saying, again, selling the product is not enough. We want to be a pal, we want to be a coach, we want to be a motivator for people. And this comes to my last point for the night is most anybody, at first I had anybody, but it's not really true. Most anybody can put a product or a service out there. Not everybody can put something out there that's special and unique enough that they're going to become this trusted buddy, the trusted pal, the trusted coach, the motivator, the support system. When it comes to health and fitness, but a lot of other areas as well, people are not necessarily motivated to get out there and do it every single day. And that's what we want to be for those people. We want to be whatever they need on that day to go out and make good decisions and make their life a little bit better. Quick list of things that we think makes this happen. And to wrap up for the evening, whatever the challenge, be part of the solution. I mean this for in-house, I mean this for your product, for your company. Be solution-oriented. It's a game changer. And that's it. Thanks very much for your attention and enjoy your evening.